Hello and welcome to the John Smith Stadium at full time of Huddersfield Town 1, West Brom 0. The show is sponsored by Sportsbroker and I am joined by David Hartrick of Opta and the Examiner and Andy Lawson. Dave, I thought that was 3 points well and truly deserved by Town, who were fantastic from minute one. Is that a biased view of the game or is that true?
No, I think there are ways to be good in a game, and one of the ways to be good in a game is be really well organised defensively. I thought they did tactically. Carlos Corberán got it pretty much spot on, to be honest. I think putting Thomas ahead of Turton was so they could play as like a 5 out of possession or more like a 4 really at times. I thought really worked well, and it allowed them the ability to double up on Grant, stop him doing the thing that every Town fan knows he loves to do. And I just thought they were really, really competent. I thought it was a really mature performance. And I think that despite the West Brom pressure, because it was fairly incessant, but that is just the way they play, I thought Town were absolutely good for the 3 points.
Yeah, Andy, is it fair to say, even though people will perhaps look at the stats of the game and everything and assume that West Brom had the majority of play and everything, it was largely an effectual possession. Town managed what they did. If it was a boxing match, they were mainly punching gloves. They weren't landing anything clean. Is that how you saw it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we managed the game incredibly well as a team. I mean, as Dave has mentioned, it's about that kind of solidity at the back. I feel like we really showed that, yeah, we could restrict West Brom to an occasional half chance or so. Yeah, all right, near the end, they did get a couple of chances that were a little bit hairy. But generally, no, I feel like we did manage that really well. I'm happy with that performance that I've seen and how we came into that game today.
Yeah, you mentioned the back, Andy, and obviously it's important to touch on. Tom Lees was missing today, and he's been outstanding since joining the club, really, on a free in the summer. Naby Sarr came into the middle of the 3. He actually finished the sponsors man of the match. Matty Pearson and Levi Cole were the other side of him were absolutely outstanding again. Do you think it's credit to those 3 for readjusting? With the main central senior defender out, Naby came in and was outstanding. Is it credit to them for keeping a clean sheet against such a good attacking side?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, Raj, it is. If you look at how we were last season compared to this season, that defence is hugely different. And if you look as well with how they react to Lee Nichols, who's in there as well, you can see that as a unit they are really tight. But you mentioned the fact that today, yeah, Tom Lees goes out, Naby Sarr comes in, and I feel like nothing really changed. That solidity was still there. I mean, look at some of the tackles as well. Naby is brilliant at timing. Last second, last ditch, sliding tackles and things. Naby can do that. So I feel like the way that Town play now is testament to the fact that we have such strength in that back. And I'm going to call it the 4 because adding the keeper as well. So that back kind of 4 for me, that helps to make what we are.
Well, we're talking about the players that were missing, Dave. Obviously, Captain Jonathan Hogg was out, as well as Dwayne Holmes. One of the players that stepped in and debutised was Scott High, playing next to Lewis O'Brien in midfield. I thought he was excellent from right the way through the game, defensively as well, but offensively, the way he pressed and passed the ball with real expression and a variety of passing. To create the first goal as well, the ball through that he played for Danny Ward was excellent. He's obviously had a couple of starts for Scotland's under-21s in the break. Is that one of those performances for such a young player who's made less than 10 starts for the club at this level? Is that one of those performances that's going to build his confidence and really give him something to build on?
Yeah, I think definitely. I thought he was excellent. I think the way that they replaced Hogg today was by not trying to replace him. They both, O'Brien and High, both took some of the responsibility on. And I think they dovetailed really, really well because both have the ability to break and both have the ability to sit. So there's no point telling one, that is what you do all game, and telling the other, that is what you do. And they work really intelligently together. And I think Scott High is a footballer who he's had a not a rough time over this last couple of cameo performances, but it's a struggle to come into a game, and that's what he's had to do in his last couple of appearances. I think playing as a central midfielder from the start is much easier because you can pick the pace of the game up, you can understand its rhythm right from the word go. And I thought he was just, again, super mature performance from him today, and a performance I would argue we've not seen from him. At the start of the season, we were all excited when he was sort of breaking into that false 10 position and doing really, really well. Today, he was more of a sort of proper, true central midfielder, an almost old school number 8, basically. And I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was really, really good.
No, I completely agree with that. Andy, after the last game before the international break, everyone was obviously very disappointed with where that Cardiff game ended. It left a bit of a sour taste going into the international break. And, you know, when the teams came out today with the form that the West Brom have been in across the season, with the players they have available to them, nobody really expected Huddersfield to be on this end of the result. If anything, they expected it to be quite convincing the other way around. As a Town fan, does that give you a lot of not only confidence but satisfaction to know that, you know, those players have gone out there with a real determination and decided it doesn't really matter what, you know, people think is going to happen. We're going to prove them wrong, and we're going to put that last Cardiff result well and truly in the past.
There. And just to jump back actually to what you said about Scott High as well, and Lewis O'Brien in the middle of that midfield, we managed to control that area of the field, I thought. And bearing in mind actually the busy week that we've got, because we've got QPR midweek, we've got Middlesbrough on Saturday. If you're thinking of like bringing a kid next week, because it's their Kindertags, the Kid for a Quid game next Saturday, if you want to look at that midfield and you kind of think, well, for your kids, like an inspiration, we'll look at the age of that midfield today, how well they helped Town in a game against West Brom. I think it shows both where we've come from and where as a club we're wanting to go to, bearing in mind that game and then beyond.
I think marketing manager Jonathan Wilkinson will have your fee in the post for that Kinder.
I was going to say, can you check me in the post, please? Yeah.
No, thank you very much. There are still seats available next week at the John Smith Stadium for that Middlesbrough game if people are interested. Dave, it's one of those that really puts a good mood into a club, this sort of victory, when it's unexpected, when a performance is so solid, when it is so good. And we know, you know, as well as anyone, that this championship campaign is relentless. It's QPR Wednesday, Middlesbrough on Saturday, then, you know, endless games up until Christmas now. Is it really important to get off to this sort of a start and get a bit of a wind and a good feel about the place so that we can go into these next few games with a bit of a bounce and a smile on our faces?
Yeah, the one thing Town have done really well this season is to lose a game and not follow it up with another defeat, which was a key aspect of last season, really, the decline in the second half of the season. And this season, they've really worked on putting that right. They were bang at it today, right from the word go. They were helped by a sort of suicidally high line from West Brom at times, but they exploited it. They were bang at it. And yeah, it just lifts everything. This league is relentless. It is a bear pit. The games come thick and fast. But I think you've also got to give Carlos Corberán a lot of credit for today, because the tactical tweaks he made. So moving Pearson a bit more narrow to just provide a bit of support for Sarr, but also let Turton drop back in so you could double up on Grant. Having the two midfielders dovetail between each other, having Thomas pushed a bit higher to try and capitalise on that line. It shows that they can make these tweaks from game to game. They've got a manager who's willing to do it. They've got a squad that allows them to do it now. And this is important. We don't know where this season's going to end up for Town yet, but things don't happen by accident at this stage. We're too far in, and it just there's a buzz. There was I think the thing I'll take away from today more than anything else, funnily enough, is the noise when Danny Ward was subbed off on about the 63rd, 64th minute. He had put in an incredible shift today. He didn't get his goal, literally his last touch on the pitch before he came off, but he had run his studs off. He had done everything that was asked of him and more. And the reception he got when he came off was basically a standing ovation in most parts of the ground. And that was when you think, okay, all right, there's a feeling back here. There's a feeling that feeling of we can win every game if we play at our best is back. And that's all you can really ask in this league.
No, I think that's really well said. And I think that, you know, that Ward moment is a really good summation of his performance and the crowd's reaction to it. Because again, like you say, he didn't get his goal, but people were hugely appreciative of the work he'd done, the assist he made for Dinel Sinani. And if we talk about Sinani for a second, Andy, because he's somebody that we'd mentioned on the show a few times previously, saying he's so close to getting off the mark. He's so close to making a real difference. And having had that moment against Cardiff, even though it came in a loss, he had that extra bit of confidence today and that extra bit of killer instinct to just get on the end of something, just be in a position that perhaps he might not have been in before, he might not have gambled in before. Is he a player that now in this next running we might expect a little bit more from, now that he's producing and that final product is there from him?
I would like to see him kick on from here. And I feel actually that when he was coming off at the end, he felt like a player who had a bit more confidence than maybe the player that we'd seen in him previously. I mean, you're right. The setup from Danny Ward, who is right to be praised by Dave. I thought Danny Ward is the Danny Ward that we hoped that he would be when he came back to the club now. And the fact that he cuts the ball back to Sinani, I think I'm right in saying Toff is also up there too. So if Sinani doesn't put it in, Toff might. But the fact that Donnell is there, the fact that he does put the ball in the back of the net, yeah, that's, for me, that's what we need him to do. We need him to finish the chances as and when they come. But also, he's a great link man as well. Dave, you know, with your stats and things, and you know much more about the actual kind of intricacies of football than me. But I look at him and I see him as, when he is putting in those little deft touches that just move the ball on one, it can really help to open up other teams. The fact that he's also picking up goals as well, for me, it's a big deal. It's a big part of why, again, we're doing well at the minute.
Yeah, and while we have singled out a few different players, I think everyone to a man was brilliant today. There was nobody, even the substitutes, that were, you know, put a foot wrong. Really, John Russell made his debut from the B team, which is really important. Well, an important player like Jonathan Hogg is missing. That gives the club another option in midfield that's completely different to what either Scott High or Lewis O'Brien offers. So that's a real important thing. Josh Ruffles came on and was solid again, and Fraser Campbell was in and amongst everything as he usually is, and that led obviously to the Jake Livermore red card, which, you know, I don't think was really arguable when your boots that high and you connect with somebody's head. There's only one result really that's going to come from that. Before we end the show, is there anything at all that either of you two wanted to comment on before we finish up?
No, I think as I said, just praising Carl. We've praised Carlos Corberán for what he did today, and I think that's important. But yeah, that collective today was pretty magnificent at times.
And I feel as well, kind of as a fan representative as well, I suppose, here on sometimes on Extra Time, I feel like the fans sounded really, really in good voice today. There were large parts of that game where you knew we were, I mean, it's an awful cliche, 12th man stuff. I don't like to go into that, but we sounded really good, I feel, as a group of fans. Fair play West Brom as well. They did have a bit of a song, but we sounded really good. And I feel like, yeah, along with everything Dave said, I echo it. Fans as well. Really happy today.
We'll leave that for this evening. We'll enjoy this result tonight, and it's straight back into Championship action on Wednesday night away at QPR, which isn't going to be easy either. But the mood will be good and the confidence will be high. So thank you, both of you two, for your time at full time as always today. Thank you to Sportsbroker for sponsoring the show, and we'll speak to you all soon before that QPR game.